Star Wars Outlaws is the next big title set in one of media's biggest IPs. This game not only has the potential to finally recreate some of Star Wars' most iconic worlds, characters, and stories, but it will also introduce worlds we've heard much of but never seen recreated in any form of media. Really quickly, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and consider subscribing as this helps me and the channel grow. But without further ado, let's get straight into it as we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this title. Let's start by getting a few things out of the way. As this title is being developed by Massive Entertainment, the same team behind the Division series and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, and published by Ubisoft, for some, this may be a bit of a turnoff. Now, why do I say this? I love Ubisoft titles. They are one of my favorite developers, to be honest with you, but we know their titles, well, they can be a little over-encumbered by cluttered maps, overwhelming repetitive features, and that Ubisoft touch that some may love or hate. In my opinion, this also possesses a major strength though. Ubisoft is working directly with Lucasfilms on this one, and in doing so, they will have the aid of veterans to this iconic world and its stories, giving the developers assets and lore and helping them recreate all the iconic locations and characters we all know and love from the Star Wars franchise. So with them working so closely with Lucasfilms, I think that they are going to have a good upper hand on the development side of this. And as you guys know, Ubisoft titles, when they actually are done well, like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, they turn into a franchise that continuously has sequels and prequels. So I'm pretty excited, and I think they're going to do a good job about it. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the premise. Set between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, we're going to be taking on the role as a scoundrel, Kay Vess, seeking freedom and looking to start a new life. Kay gets pulled into a plan that will change everything, crossing Sleero and getting caught up in a complex web of crime in the Star Wars underworld, working towards raising in ranks and reputation within the crime underworld to eventually steal the galaxy's biggest fortune. With the ability to work alongside other criminal syndicates in the galaxy, this really provides a huge avenue of choice, picking who and when to side with, all or just a few, with the ability to completely go against some groups. In doing so, side quests, activities, and special abilities and gear will become available as reputation is built throughout the galaxies with each of these individual groups. Now, when it comes to the overall gameplay, Kay's kit is pretty basic with a few consumables, 3 different blaster modes, regular shot, anti-electronics, and a stun ability. Accompanying us will be Nyx. Nyx is a Markle and the protagonist's best friend. He's been her loyal partner in crime since she was a kid, aiding us in stealth, gathering intel of surrounding areas, and distracting or taking out enemies entirely. The developers describe Kay and Nyx as one protagonist, as Nyx will be a huge component in gameplay and the way we approach encounters, infiltrating gang hideouts and slipping out with stolen relics, credits, and intel to further progress faction reputation and the overall story. The game will offer many avenues when approaching situations, through dialogue choices impacting relationships and the arcing story, to the way we engage certain encounters and camps. Do you want to go in stealth? We can do that, or maybe blast our way in. Furthermore, we could build up our reputation with the faction at question and just walk right into the front door. Now, to me, this sounds very similar to the way a lot of Ubisoft formulate their games. There's going to be outposts throughout the world that we can take over, kind of like the Far Cry series. Even Assassin's Creed has this. Heck, I can even go as far as saying the Division has some things similar to this, and Outlaws is going to be no different. But each of these outposts are going to offer us opportunities because we could have a high reputation with specific syndicate groups that are controlling these areas, and we could just walk our way in and use their merchants and accept side quests from them. Now, Outlaws' faction reputation system will shape the world in small ways based on dialogue choices and other decisions like choosing subtle or aggressive approach in specific missions. Our actions will dictate how individual factions react to us, and the dialogue will be branching. Other major aspects of the gameplay are lockpicking, setting traps, and having Nyx execute environmental destruction will be a huge part of approaching situations. The most interesting part that I am excited to see how it plays out will be the wanted system. Whether that's from stealing, lockpicking our way into secure locations, or simply by gaining a bounty on our head, the Empire can ultimately mark us as a wanted fugitive, even though we technically already are one, with the Empire sending ATSTs, TIE fighters, and other forces to us to evade and escape or to fight head-on. Now, the world is probably the biggest aspect of this game because it's the first open-world Star Wars title and open-world game set in this IP. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly how this is going to be. The world will be broken up between planets and the outer atmosphere of these planets. Now, with open-world games, we have one huge map to explore, but In Star Wars Outlaws, each planet and moon will have their own smaller maps. Now, these maps could be viewed to be a third of the size of a standard open world game, some planets offering bigger and more dense maps and areas to explore, while others will offer smaller locations, like towns, cantinas, trade posts, and places where we can pick up side quests and gigs, as well as participate in gambling and other mini-games like arcade cabinets, and also the ability to buy and trade with merchants in these towns. Our reputation is going to dictate the prices and even if we can trade with these traders. Now, what we know right now is there are 4 planets currently announced. They're going to have DLC, so they might announce further planets, but they have elaborated in discussions and interviews that they want to keep the planets minimal. They don't want to have a Starfield style to it because they want them to not be generated. They want them to be very dense and very detailed, which I honestly can appreciate this, as we know we'll be visiting the home planet of Jabba the Hutt as part of our journey across the Outer Rim. And no, Jabba the Hutt is not locked behind the pre-order bonuses. A special quest is the only thing he will give us if we pre-order the game. Other than that, he will be a major part of the story. We will either work with or against other crime syndicates as we carve our path and arc the story. Arguably one of the most iconic worlds in all of Star Wars was the desert planet where Luke and Anakin grew up. This being Tatooine, this will be one of the main hubs in the game simply because with this being the story of Outlaws is a large part of its association with criminal organizations like the Hutts. I highly believe as this being a Ubisoft title in the first open world Star Wars game, there's going to be plenty of Easter eggs and references hidden throughout each planet, and I'm really excited. This is one of the major things I like about games, finding these little set pieces around the different areas of the map in the world and little lore pieces that indicate whether it's a different game, a different franchise, a different IP, or the IP that we're in. These are the biggest things that I'm looking forward to. In Ubisoft, they do tend to have a decent amount of references and Easter eggs in their titles, so we're going to have to see exactly how this is going to shape up. The next planet we do know about is the Tashara Moon. The Moon of Tashara is a wholly new location for the Star Wars canon, invented up with a collaboration from Lucasfilm specifically for the game. This is going to be extremely interesting. This location will feature savanna-like plains, plenty of wildlife, and a huge city called Morogana with multiple other small settlements scattered throughout the world. The developers have suggested this will be one of the biggest play areas in the game, so it seems like this is going to be one of the bigger areas that we're going to go to, whether it's going to be a hub or the main area that we are going to be playing at. We do not know exactly what that means in terms of gameplay and the story. Our next location is going to be Akiva. Akiva is a planet with a foundational lore in the Aftermath novels. A jungle planet, Akiva is most known for its droid factories. It's possible that even one of the companions that we can encounter, at least this is my idea, ND5, he's going to be a companion that we're going to be working with throughout the story. I believe this is where we're going to encounter him for the first time, and his origin story is probably going to stem from this planet. This planet thrives off of the natural surroundings with the settlements built in and around huge jungle landscapes and trees. They've described this planet as being very, very natural, where when you go into the cantinas, when you go into the market, you're literally going through the trees. There's going to be a big tree in the center of the cantina. It's going to be all natural looking. And one thing that I'm very excited about with all these worlds is Ubisoft, I have to give it to them, even though the performance for Avatar was terrible, the performance in that game, at least for me, it's probably been updated now, was very, very terrible, but the graphics and the way they built the world was so amazing, and I think they're going to do the same when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws. So I'm super excited to see all these different planets that they're going to put together and how they're going to look. I think it's going to be beautiful. Next planet is going to be Kijimi. Kijimi has been both seen plenty of times in the trailers. Those who remember The Rise of Skywalker might remember this planet as the frigid world where smuggler Zori Bliss is met for the first time. This planet, once a holy place being constantly overran by bandits, eventually shaped itself to become a huge criminal hotspot within the galaxy. Now, this planet has been mentioned by the developers as a place to go to gather intel and accept contracts to gain reputation across all factions, as well as the ability to make a ton of credits here. This is probably going to be a big zone for us to grab different contracts that will send us to different planets and different places around the galaxy. It's going to be a big central area to gain contracts and really give a boost to reputation. So there's not that much information on it, but it is interesting. The last planet we know about is Canto Bight. Remember Canto Bight, the gambling world reminiscent of Monte Carlo in The Last Jedi, where Finn and Rose go? Now at this point in the Star Wars timeline, it's called Catonica. Now historically, as it is in the game, it's a wasteland, a safe haven for criminals, but will eventually become a luxury resort for the wealthy few. This planet is where Kay Vest is born, as well as Cyro, leader of the Zerk Besh crime syndicate, who seems to be the game's main antagonist along with the Empire Empire, of course, but it seems like it seems like he's going to be the main antagonist, as the big challenge and the big part of the story is we're going to be taking his huge treasure that he has. We're going after his treasure. That's the end goal. At least that's what we know. Sure, there's going to be branching off and we might be able to work with him, or we might work with him at some point, not exactly knowing, but that is the main plot of the game. Now, these are currently all the confirmed planets that we have. Will more be in the base game? We do not know this, but I believe more areas of the planets, maybe even completely new planets themselves, will open up as new DLCs are announced. We do know there's already DLCs, kind of like how it always is, Ubisoft fashion. They already give us a roadmap pre the game's launch, which I think is great. Are they going to be good DLCs? Are they going to add a lot of content? We do not know yet, but some of their DLCs seem to play out pretty decently in a lot of these games. I like the way they've done the Far Cry series, where it's like completely different story and all that, and it's pretty interesting. So I'm kind of excited to see what they have planned, to be honest. Now, keep in mind, each planet is supposed to be designed in such a way as to create fresh experiences and emphasize different gameplay mechanics. Now, this makes each planet look and feel unique across the story. For example, some will offer the ability to explore outside city limits, indulging in nature, landscapes, battling animals and creatures, exploring cave systems, going on top of mountains, where others will offer plenty of content and quests behind the scenes of the bigger cities. So it's going to be nice to have those different black and white areas where we can go in nature, drive around on our speeder, go around in the water, go see creatures, go discover different areas in nature, but then also have certain planets where the bulk of the gameplay and where the focus is going to be in these big bustling cities with these merchants doing quests. There's probably going to be a lot of stealth quests there. I can even imagine us having hit quests where you have to take out specific targets and maybe not get caught. It's going to be interesting to see how each of these planets are going to work and how they're going to work differently compared to the others. Now, outside of all these planets, we will of course be able to travel through the solar system. It's not a Star Wars game if we can't fly a spacecraft, right? And do dogfights. So that's going to be a big part of the game. And our ship is going to be called the Trailblazer. When we're off the surface of these planets, we're going to be able to help other ships and stations in orbit. We're going to have the ability to fight off pirates, fight off the Empire and other factions we've built bad reputations with. When we are out on the outer rim, on the outskirts of these planets, off surface, we are going to be able to encounter people that we can protect, or we're going to have bounties coming after us, or the Empire coming after us. So that's going to be part of the gameplay. We can choose to run and do a hyper jump and just completely get away, or we can choose to fight it out and build our reputation by protecting ships and stations and other things like that from pirates, as well as gain credits and loot from these destroyed pirates. We do not have a long wait for Star Wars Outlaws. I am super excited about it. I honestly think, in my opinion, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know what you honestly think of this game. Are you skeptical? I am a sucker for Ubisoft. Sure, do they have rough titles come out? Yes, but what development company doesn't? And at the end of the day, if they do it right, which I think they are going to, because they're direct collaborating with Lucasfilms, and I know Lucasfilms keeps a tight eye on the IP in general and Star Wars overall. I really think they're going to do a great job with it. And if it turns out really good, I can honestly see us getting a sequel or a prequel, and this turning into a mini franchise. Is it going to be Assassin's Creed? Is it going to be Far Cry? I don't think so, but I think we're going to get branching games and branching stories. Are we going to stay KVS? I mean, the game hasn't even come out. We don't know yet. But let me know down in the comments below what you think. I'm super excited for Star Wars Outlaws. It's going to be out August 30th. We do not have a long way to go. I appreciate you guys for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like on it and subscribe for all things gaming. Here on the channel, we just talk about games, and I like playing and making content about current games and games that I'm interested in and playing. So if you're into all that, I would love to have you in the community. And as always, stay happy, stay hyped, and have a beautiful day.